Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Steven Inks. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about my process for creating fountain pen art. Last week, one of my students at the school where I work asked me if I knew how to draw a monkey with a crazy hat. And the secret of it is, technically, no, I don't, because I need to go through a brainstorming and a building of knowledge process to build any piece that I build on this channel. So today I wanted to talk about that process and get from starting from nothing all the way to the completed piece. And along the way, how do I use my pens to create the knowledge that I need to create a final piece? I hope this is informative for those of you who enjoy creating your own art or are looking to learn these skills. And also for those of you who are a little more polished in your skill set, maybe you have some knowledge to share with me in the comments. I'm looking forward to this video. Let's just get started. Okay, so haven't decided yet what pen I'm going to use for the final piece, but I got a little ink left in my Asvine V126. So that was a popular pen on this channel, so I'm just going to use that for a little bit. I think I do want to do black ink, so just using this one which has red ink in it to empty it out so I can clean it and use it for future applications. This first step is just kind of like rough sketching. I suppose you could call it thumbnails, you could call it the, what's it called, the compositional stage, thumbnail stage, I don't know what else to say. Just so we're aware, when I say monkey as a science teacher, I feel the need to say, what we're actually talking about, in my opinion, is a chimpanzee. And at this point in phase in the drawing, I don't actually have to know what a chimpanzee looks like. This is a terrible example because I'm going to go into that in another phase. But this is just about making shapes, getting ideas. What does a silly hat look like? Is it this this kind of thing, or is it this kind of thing? I don't know. And I think also at this phase, it's really about finding things that work, shapes that make sense, that work together. I'm going to go into the details of it later. So for now, I need 4 to 5 good ideas of what I think it might look like. And I want to not get myself too tied down to any one idea. So I notice I did 2 that were just ahead. Well, maybe I need some full body monkey here. And I don't really draw in a realistic style, so it doesn't have to be realistic to me. I can exaggerate the shapes if I want to. And I'm trying to think of as many crazy ideas as I possibly can just to get a picture of something I could try for the final. So again, this is what that is, and let's get a few more ideas in before we get to the next phase. So I think it's a little bit weird showing off this part of my process because I don't expect there to be anything particularly beautiful or interesting going on here. Just a bunch of my random just throwing ideas out there. So for a very long time, as a matter of fact, when I first started making videos on this channel, I even did the pencilings off camera, and I only showed the inking part in my videos so that nobody would know that I made weird or bad or sloppy drawings sometimes. But sloppy drawings are part of the process, so these are the sloppiest drawings that I do, and they are essential to getting the one that I like. So yeah,
nothing. I think that this is what a real sketchbook looks like. I think oftentimes when people show off their sketchbooks, it's just so nice that they have pretty beautiful little sketches that look like finished art pieces. I'll bet those influencers have something hidden in the back that's just a place where they put all their messy, gross drawings like these. That's just my theory. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm the only one who makes really, really ugly drawings in order to make nice ones. But these are those drawings.
So the next phase, I got a blank piece of paper here. We're going to call this studies. When I'm doing this with my pen, I'm looking for the textures, the shapes, all these other things that I'm going to need in order to create what I'm looking to make. Obviously, I don't want it to look like this, but these are some of my ideas. I'm going to get rid of the things that I don't think I like. I kind of like this one, and I kind of like this one. I do like the idea of it just being the head, with the hat being the centerpiece. If you pardon, I don't know if that's a pun or not, but just the weird phrase that I'm saying here. And I do actually kind of like the idea of a sport coat with the sleeves cut off. That's kind of fun, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have any part of the torso or shoulders in it. So in the meantime, I might be looking up some of the elements that I need. Like I need to get more details of the monkey's face. If there's any other facial gestures or expressions that I might want to have going on, I'm going to need to study that. I'm going to need to study all the different textures that I wanted to put in here, all the pieces that I'd like to try. I might even do some research on different kinds of crazy hats and see if anything else comes up that I might need to know. But this section is all about reference. I'll be pulling pictures off the internet, Google Images, just to kind of protect this channel. I'm not going to display any of those images, but I use Google a lot. I use programs like Pixabay and Pexels and those kind of websites that have royalty-free images. But if you're just using Part to kind of teach yourself, I don't usually see any issues with like copyright or anything like that come up in those cases. We're just going to get some ideas down here on this paper and do some learning on the shapes that we need and the patterns and textures and things.
And with this part right here, I think this kind of looks a little bit more like where you would consider these sketches looking like professional art, but I don't take it as far as I could. I'm not trying to make the final thing. I'm just trying to make enough knowledge in my brain so that I can make what I want to make later. Sometimes I end up liking these drawings more than what I end up finally with. And it's a good thing to remember too that you don't necessarily go from one phase to the next. You can go back and forth. I could take what I've learned now and go back to the phase I was just in and do some more kind of rough sketches of ideas, or I could even move forward and back over all these steps. It's not a patented process or anything. It's just various steps that you go through, and sometimes you go back, and sometimes you go forward, and sometimes you go all around the place trying to get something that works. By the way, what I'm drawing here, if it's not obvious, is a ribbon with a bow tied in it. I saw that on a hat and I thought maybe I should try that in case I want to use it. I realize now that it doesn't look like that, which is fine. The point of these is not to be pretty, it's to get ideas and things.
This is kind of what a study ends up looking like. Pretty messy. I'm still not sure what I'm doing with the hat thing, and I have a couple of things I looked at, not really anything that I like. But we're going to move on to the next stage now. These are usually sloppy, unfinished details. We go into them a little bit. Shadow shapes are things that I care about. Geometric shapes, like this one down here, maybe this one up here. How do they fit together? How do the shadows fall? Those are things I try and get from the study. And as you can see, none of this is finished, and that's fine. Let's move ahead. So before we move on to the next step, which is compositional drawing, and you might also think of this as thumbnail sketches, it's when we've got our image, what does it look like, and how is everything arranged on the screen. So I thought I'd throw a couple of examples out here. This is in no way, by no means an exhaustive list, but these are just some things that I use from time to time to help me figure out where does everything go, how big should things be, where do I want people to look when they're looking at my drawing, and you may even see a few of my drawings kind of fall into this pretty easily. So the first one, and this is the one I use the most often, is the rule of thirds. I use this because I'm classically trained as a photographer and I guess you could say filmmaker. I went to school for that, but it never ended up being anything except that compositionally, if you take a screen, or in this case it'll be a page of paper, but this roughly matches what I work with on this sketchbook, which is the outline of what we're going to be drawing with, and you divide it in thirds vertically and horizontally, you have these four areas where the lines intersect, and those are the main places to place your subject's areas of interest. You might consider one side having the main area of interest, another side could have a secondary area of interest, and it would be less so. You don't want competition for where you want people to look. You don't want their eyes to be split between two different things. This is an interesting one. I'm going to talk about this one right here and this one right here at the same time. This is based on the letter S, and you could take a lot of other alphabet shapes like an X, an O. We do have a circle down here. An A is essentially this triangle with a frame. And using those shapes, they're kind of classical. You can use that to draw your area of interest along this place. This is great for things like landscapes, for example, where you have multiple spots where you want the person to look. It draws the eyes on a path. And that's the same thing with this zigzag. It draws your eyes on a path. And that means that a person who's looking at your art might start over here, and that way they spend a little more time on the image. It causes them to slow down when they're looking at it. I think that's a pretty interesting idea. Other shapes too. A triangle is a very common shape in architecture, in building and structure. It's very strong. It's very rigid. You see a lot of symbology around triangles. If you think about it, you see this a lot, and you maybe don't even notice it, but it's there. With circles, we do get kind of, there's another thing of structure here. If you cause the eye to go on a path around in a circle, it kind of never ends, so you can get people really staring at a piece for a very long time if that's what you want. There's other meanings and things behind it. This is just my limited knowledge. I do have the yin-yang symbol, and being a white person, I'll just say it up front. If I'm using or explaining this inappropriately, I do apologize. But my perception of this shape, and I have used shapes like this because the idea of balance, but it's not as rigid as a triangle or a circle. There's sort of an organic up and down motion to it, having small areas of interest at the top, having negative space. And if you look at symbology, I'm particularly religious symbology, as I understand that this is a religious symbol, even things like a Star of David, the crucifix, other things like that, there's a natural balance and rhythm built into those things, and you can utilize those as the base for what you're doing, which means placing items in your composition along these lines and then leaving what's outside of those line areas as clean. And that's kind of what you do with all of these. The golden spiral is really great for organic shapes, and just like any of these shapes here, you could also turn it on its side. I know that this is not mathematically representation of the golden spiral. It just kind of looks like that. You can look it up for a more exact version. I'm not terribly mathematical with my compositions, but you can be, and it might have a benefit to you. Again, like things increasing in detail as you get closer towards the center, and as you branch out, they're further apart. You see, obviously, you see shapes like this in nature. So you can also use natural rhythms and patterns in nature as part of your step into that. The simplest version of what we've got up here with the triangle and the zigzag is just a straight diagonal. It could be that could make things kind of abrupt, but it could really draw stark attention. And there's a lot of ways that you could see things like this working. If this were a landscape and we had a mountain coming in right here, that's one example. A person running, this could be the action line, the line that connects their head to spine. And then you have that diagonal shape. It indicates a motion in that direction, or you could do it obviously in the other direction as well. There's lots of different things that you could do. I did also want to talk about this, and I'm giving credit where credit is due. This is something I learned in a book by a guy named Andrew Loomis. He has a lot of great classical compositional with an emphasis on traditional illustrative art forms. He has a lot of books on that subject, and they're worth a read. They are, I'll say this, they're a product of their time. So every once in a while you hear a phrase or a thing within those books that's it's not how we say that anymore kind of thing. So just be warned that kind of stuff is in here, but there's a lot of great advice. And something that he did for compositions is he'd start drawing random lines, and then he would connect them with diagonals and sectionalize them, and then those places where they met, that's where these points of interest go. This is really useful for multiple figures, for a composition that involves like a crowd, for example, or several complex things interacting together. You'd be surprised how well this works. And if you check out, I can't remember which book it is, he has about 7 or 8 of them, might be at your local library or available where books are sold. There's some great examples of how this is used, and some of these shapes he also talks about as well. Of course, nobody owns composition. It is a thing that exists, but I just do want to make sure I give credit where credit is due for some of the stuff I've learned. So let's look at this and see what we come up with. I'm not going to commit to any one particular shape or idea. I have some things I want to do, but one of the best things about taking the time to go through all these steps is to try different things and see what you end up with. So you will see, I'm going to use pencil a little bit to block in these shapes, and you'll see how I might use something like that to create a composition that's pleasing to the eye. All right, here we go.
Important to note in this particular phase is that none of these things are set into their shapes so incredibly tightly that it literally looks like that shape, but they are guiding lines that lead us to a certain part. So that's kind of what I did here. I don't even have to go through the inking process. I just kind of wanted to, because I'm still trying to work out what it is that I'm trying to do. So that's why that is something I'm doing here. Also, I wanted to use my pens as much as possible because this is a pen and ink, a fountain pen channel. So I do a lot of these phases in pencil. But yeah, I think doing something like this is really helps you think about things like, having the face up close or far away, turning a certain direction. There's all kinds of stuff you could think about here.
So hopefully you could see where I took the same idea and kind of played around with it. These lines are not hard and fast rules, but I put things within them and I end up with what I end up with. I very much like this composition, but I think it should be a little more to the right, like a combination of, to the left, a combination of the rule of thirds plus this kind of spiral shape, but maybe a little bit more in the vein of this up here. So combining all those ideas together, I get a picture of what I'd like this drawing to look like, and then we move from there. I decided to use the Platinum Carbon Desk Pen, actually the new version rather than the old version, just because it's something I recently used, and I'm trying to decide if it's something worth getting used to. Bless me. I'm going to go wash my hands, and then I'm going to draw this drawing.
Okay. So here it is, the final monkey. I I just want to point out also that this monkey put this hat on of their own free will and accord. This is a monkey that likes wearing hats. We're just going to put this out there. There was no monkey coercion like at the circus or the zoo or wherever it is they make monkeys wear silly hats. This is a monkey that wanted to wear that particular silly hat. So we got that out of the way. Let's talk drawing process. I did find that the new platinum desk pen is really not that bad. I did find it useful to use the way that I have been using it. I do find pencils to be a very important step when you're trying to create a final piece, because you can make all your mistakes in the pencil phase, and then the ink phase you could really focus on doing it right. Not that this is perfect. I also want to point out that I think I made the monkey's shoulders too narrow, and I totally could have gone back and looked up reference, and I didn't because I was in the zone. I was just having fun. Looking at it now, it would have helped some. So just a reminder that even though I have these steps and they kind of exist in a certain way, that doesn't mean that you have to follow them step by step, or that you can't go back and you can't use anything from the other steps before. There's this weird idea out there that to be a real artist, you can draw from your head and you don't need reference. But I think the best artists I know use reference, and they use it all the time. So anyway, that's where my monkey came from. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, it was fun to do.
Okay, so to wrap things up, I hope you enjoyed this little look at my process. Let me know in the comments below if you create fountain pen art or any kind of art. What's your process, and is it different from mine, similar, the same? I'd love to hear about that and learn from you as well. If you enjoy fountain pen art and would like to be a part of this little community, please like and subscribe to my channel. I've got more videos coming out soon and lots of fun stuff to talk about, so I'll see you then.